Hey beauties, good morning to you beautiful people. All right, beauties. Now, I want to encourage people to go and listen to on YouTube this very fantastic, gifted, and talented preacher or speaker. His name is Dr. K.N. Jacob. Somewhere in Africa, and he had posited some time ago reasons under the permissive will of God, permissive, not perfect, of reasons why people can be divorced. And it is not that he's encouraging it. He really, like God, he doesn't like it. But if it is going to happen, at least consider these before just doing it. As in the book of Malachi, when a man would divorce his wife for sneezing, just like that. If she didn't tell him that she was on her menstrual cycle, he would divorce her. If she interrupted a meeting that he had with men, business meeting, he would divorce her. If she burnt the food, he would divorce her. So Jesus became angry. The book of Malachi would have been like 400 years before the book of Matthew. So don't think it's as Malachi than the book of Matthew. So Jesus had to speak out against it. And, under the Mosaic law, say, all right, look here. Unless it's marital unfaithfulness. And people make the assumption that we're talking about infidelity. Not necessarily so. It could be that you're a Christian or just a believer in God, Jesus Christ himself, and the man decides to become a Satanist and who wants to hold true to that. Then the marriage obviously will not work. He is repeatedly abusive or she's repeatedly abusive. What else? Very controlling, and either party strangling the other party. When I say strangling, I don't mean literally, but you're not taking good care of each other, and it would fall under, I don't like to use irreconcilable differences. We're giving specific elements or specific things as to what you can say. All right, we realize that we're beating against a dead horse. We're shaking somebody who is dead and say, get up. And we're not talking about a miracle here now, where they become alive, so it's abuse, not providing for your family, repeated infidelity, so the person decides that they're going to have extramarital affair, they don't care, or their religion changes, things like that. But I want to segue into something that I consider very significant for people to understand, to fathom, as it relates to this thing called control. Why many men, for example, leave their wives after many years, because generally women tend to file for the divorce, but you have cases where men will do it, and the strong component is called control. And when you talk with a number of men, they will tell you that the woman is too controlling. She's controlling. She's very much controlling. All right. And studies even show that men who divorce after many years, they will tell you the bottom line, it falls under the woman was too controlling. Everything she just controlled in the home, and maybe became very too much, like almost like a Jezebel quality or attitude, I should say. Now, men, I see what you're saying, and I do understand that, because I accept what the book of Proverbs says, that a man rather to be under a cellar. I remember seeing it back to back consecutively in the book of Proverbs. A man rather to be in different ways under a cellar than to deal with a nagging wife. A woman who nags and so on, because when she nags, chances are she tends to be controlling. But I want to also posit this to you men, that many of you contributed to this type of behavior. You're going to ask me why? Let me tell you why. I want you to do a study of the number of nuclear homes across the country, Jamaica, or across the globe, versus the number of homes that are matriarchal homes, meaning single parent homes headed by a woman. Because you can have a matriarchal home where a man lives there, a husband lives there, but she's the one that controls the home. I'm talking about single parent homes versus nuclear, with a mother, with a husband, wife, child, or children, if there is any child, or if there are any children. I want you to do the study and you tell me what you get. Of the two, which one takes precedence? It is a single parent home, especially in the Western Hemisphere. And that is part and parcel why I'm not so much basically against in the Middle East or the Eastern Hemisphere, where they choose your husband for you, or the wife, they say you and you go together. I can't blame them. Yes, you may say it's not under the auspices of love, but you know what? Respect is there, and you don't find divorce rate high among those people, and you don't find family life being destroyed so easily among those people. I'm telling you. Go and do your research. Additionally, my beautiful people, so watch me now. So we realize and we accept that most homes, let us use Jamaica, are headed by women solely. Now let us say in that home you have the woman having 2 daughters or a daughter. She does her best to raise her the way she knows as a woman. She probably came from a single parent home where the mother was the matriarch, the only person. The woman cannot take on masculine mindset because she's not a male. She was born female. Even if they change over and call themselves the trans thing, we're talking she was born a female. So there are certain little plugs, let's use the word plugs, that got imprinted in the woman that just says this defines her as a woman. So she's going to think this way. You know, studies will tell you women tend to use the right side of the brain more, which is a creative, dynamic, committed side, soft side, the feminine side, you know, while the men uses a more of the left side, which is the logical side, you know. You remember doubting Thomas, until I see it. You know, they don't have that kind of a faith like that. Until I see it, then I will believe. I have to touch it, I have to see it and touch it. That's how many men are. But they're not necessarily loyal, committed, and devoted. Remember, the word of God said, men, love your wives, not wives, love your husbands. Watch me now. So you have this woman. She's raised by a matriarch, a woman, in her female thinking, her female way of life, taking on a sort of masculine role in terms of being the head, the leader. Now she grows up into maybe a fairly good woman. She now gets into a relationship with a man. How do you think she's going to operate in that relationship? She's going to operate the way how she was trained by her mother. She's going to operate the way how she was trained by her mother. So it has nothing to do with her being a bad woman or not the right woman and so on. Most women are under that auspices where they're raised by a matriarch. So she's not going to understand, oh, I have to compromise here, Lord. All right, him leave the shoes scattered. Sometimes him to wash up the dishes. Sometimes he doesn't clean. Sometimes a little bit harsh in how he speaks. He likes to stay out on a Friday with his friends. I have to compromise. So what she's going to automatically do is revert as how the woman treated her. Quarrel and complain, thinking that that's the right way to deal with it. Because if I don't speak about it, it means I'm enabling bad behavior, what she considers bad or unwise, not right behavior, not right treatment. Men, remember that many of you left the woman pregnant. Many of you get a lot of these women pregnant out of wedlock. So when the woman doesn't give up on it, can you imagine if the woman did give up on a child like you? The number of children that would starve to death. The number of children that would starve to death. And the woman decides within herself, all right, she says, so sometimes in some cases now it takes 1 divorce, 2 divorces before she said, oh my God. So this is how I have to be. So she has to, it's like a metamorphosis has to happen through divorce, through going through an arduous situation before she understands. Oh, I never had to act this way with my husband. I never had to quarrel. You know, the book of Proverbs talk about a nagging woman. Remember that she only knows what she knows under the basis of what her mother trained her. It took years. Remember the formative years when you're training a child? That cements that child into who that child is. 0 to 7, 0 to 12. So can you imagine? So she got all of that 0 to probably 20, 21, 22, 20, or 30. So let us use the ballpark figure. 30 years of training under her mother's auspices. And now moves into a man. Coming to a workplace doesn't tell you how a man is. Because people put on. Men tend to pretend more than women. Remember, based on the side of the brain that you use, you're not as dramatic and emotional. It's harder in some sense for women to pretend too long. Because once something bothers us, we talk about it. We're like that. We're talkers. So we get ourselves out there. Men can hold and don't say a word and pretend. I was reading something years ago where the psychiatrist or psychologist said that a man can't even marry a woman that he doesn't love. So that's why you have to be careful of some of the things that you say. Because men can pretend. They're good at that. They're excellent at that. So men, when you talk about the woman being controlling, think about why she's that way. Many of you contributed to that. You left the woman without having a man in the home present, teaching the child a masculine way while the woman teaches him the feminine way. Remember that lemonade needs lime or lemon to call it lemonade. It's not sugar and water. And you left out that main ingredient by not being there. So she can only now mix the sugar and water and tell the picnic, honey bunny, this is the lemonade that I know. The sugar and the water. The sugar and the water.